You know, I think so many people really love the ancient art of bonsai and yet kind of intimidated by it. Well, I'm here with Brian Sagawa up in Woodland, Washington at Sagawa's Nursery. And Brian, you know, there is some intimidation to get through, but really it's not that scary. And if you start with something that's a starter plant, really cuts the cost down to where it's almost affordable to everybody.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think if you're very good at growing plants in a pot, like house plants or any, it's the same basic technology, or you just want to keep the soil moist, and it's just like growing any other plant in the sun, you know, outside in a container.
I do see that you have a couple of options here for pots, and you guys here at Sagawa's have so many options, but give us a quick little primer about, you know, what the nets are for, the wire, and then show us what you're doing there.
Sure. Well, first of all, picking out the pot is kind of like the framework of any art. You know, it is like living art, you know, so basically the pot it's pretty much, we leave it up to the customer's preference. And some people like to match the colors. They come glazed, unglazed.
That was beautiful too,
exactly. So unglazed, usually conifers or plants that keep their foliage on. And then the glaze is usually for deciduous trees or things that look kind of bare in the winter. They need a little help. That's just a little rule of thumb. It doesn't have to apply that way, but that is something that is practiced in the...
And then what the purpose of the wire?
The wire. Well, basically, when we're done root pruning or getting this ready to put in there, basically what we're going to do is this will anchor the plant into the pot so it doesn't get blown over or
it's just a stabilizer
over. Exactly right, so it can root out in the pot and get itself established.
Now let me reach through here and let me show you.
Sure.
Now I can look at this square pot and go, yeah, that's not going to fit, it's way too tall, but there's a way to do this, isn't there?
That's exactly right. Usually by the time we're done, we're going to, well, I'll just go ahead and show you here, William. When we're done, we're going to probably be lightly removing, see a lot of coarse root on the bottom.
Yeah.
We'll be removing some on the top. And when we're done, about, you know, say a half inch there, half inch there, and that's probably going to be very much ready to go into the pot when we're done.
So you're actually going to do this right now, and then we'll be back in a few minutes and show them the finished product.
Sounds great.
Perfect.
I'd say July. It's getting pretty close there. So you can see it in that little bit of time.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So really, Brian, I must say, we haven't done this long. It's not taken that long for you to prune this. And then I'm going to say that the next would be just wiring it in?
That's correct. After we've pretty much reduced about one half of the root system of this, sometimes it's going to be less, more. It just depends. I was in a 4-inch pot, and you can see what's left. And usually you'd want to try to find a front. There's usually going to be a front and a back of most plants. And so sometimes it can be the rootage exposed on the sides or down below when you're scratching the surface. We are trying to make this look a little more aged or ancient or as older than it really appears. And that's usually by showing the rootage, some of the branches, some of the trunk. So that's what we're trying to do there. So never in the center.
Is there a specific, like, I was going to say, is it the center or do you want to go to the side?
Always, it's art. So never in the dead center. This is really not a formal art. It's always informal or natural. So I always like off to the side. And unless it's a formal, then I guess you could, but usually it's going to be front, back, never in the dead center though. So probably back to the back over there. So after we found the front or the back, and that's up to the eyes of the beholder the artist, I guess. So.
And then do you try to hide the wires when you tie it in?
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and get some of the soil here.
And, you put the soil in first? Then.
Yeah, so I'm going to probably put something on the bottom, and then we do pack this in pretty good when we're done. So it's going to take a little bit of work. Usually some people use like anything. I mean, chopsticks work, but we actually take a little bit of time to pack that in there really good. And when we're done, we're probably going to want to water it, but because it can settle. So that's the last thing we do is after we're done compressing, you know, packing this in there, we will put that, and sometimes people put moss on top.
Sure.
That's to keep the sun off, or, and yes, I will probably pick to the back where we don't have to see this so much, but basically we're just trying to anchor this down, twisting it. Okay, and I'll probably get my wire cutters, cut that off, and then I would just find that short little moss that we find growing everywhere.
Yeah.
Sidewalks or wherever, but you want a short moss, not the aggressive one.
And then really everything from there on is pretty much, again, taste, the structure of the plant, how you want to prune it. All of that just comes with practice and time.
That's pretty much, it's about as simple as it can get right there. So water, fertilizer, usually we recommend about half the recommended strength of what's on the label of
Sure, because it's in a smaller pot.
Right. So, but it is containerized, and they do require.
And you carry all the supplies and the plants pretty much year round, don't you?
Yeah, we sure do.
So, you know, if you've thought about bonsai and you're a little frightened, or you just don't think you can have the huge amount of money to get involved, it doesn't cost that much to start them yourself. Come on out to Sagawa's, talk to Brian and the staff, and learn how to make a beautiful bonsai for your own garden. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Willem.